Welcome to the world's #1 fitness business podcast for health club owners, gym managers, and fitness entrepreneurs. As always, this will be a great show as we have another expert to help your fitness business and your career. We'd like to thank our premier sponsor, Active Management, for supporting us, and we highly recommend becoming a member of Active Management to strengthen your business in 2016. There are loads of resources members receive, so join the Active Tribe today at www.activemgmt.com.au. Now that's enough from me. Let's welcome the show's amazing host, Chantal. What's on this week's show?
Harper, I am very, very excited about today's show because I had the chance to go back through our last 20 shows and pick out the very best bits of advice, information, and, well, let's face it, entertainment from some of the amazing women in fitness that we've had as guests on the show over the last couple of months. So rather than just having one guest this week, we've actually got 4. So let me give you a bit of a sneak peek of what you're going to hear today. We actually start off with show 21, which was Robbie Kelman-Baxter, the author of Membership Economy. And she talks about why the first 30 days, that is when you're onboarding a new member, is so critical in building behaviors. We then jump over to show 27 when Christine Thalwitz joined us from the ACAC, and she gave us some great advice on how to go about planning a charity campaign for your business. From there, we head over to show 31, and we have the incredible, the very knowledgeable, and the very entertaining Casey Conrad. And she talks to us about what areas that fitness business owners need to focus on in order to improve their sales. Last but not least, we've got Michelle Seeger, the author of No Sweat, who I'm sure you know very well by now. She joined us on show 33, and she gave us her insights into what the meaning of exercise means and understanding the wrong whys. Plus, she shares with us her top tips for fitness business owners. That is a really, really good segment, so make sure you listen up for that one. Before we get started, don't forget to hang out to the very end of the show because I'm going to be announcing the winners of our February prize, and that is 2 Active Management Memberships 2.0. So that is super exciting. That is it, tribe. Let's now tune into this week's show where we're going back to show 21 with Robbie Kelman-Baxter. Tell us about how that is, any suggestions, I guess, for what you have for onboarding the membership economy. Why is that 30 days so critical in building behaviors and habits?
Because people build behaviors really quickly, and it's very hard to change behaviors once they've been entrenched. So once somebody decides, I'm going to go 3 days a week to this gym, or I'm going to do, 5 days a week with this running club, that's what they're going to do. And they might do it forever until something happens that makes them take off their blinders and rethink what they're doing. And that could be the gym closing. That could mean their trainer changing. That could mean an injury. But they're going to maintain the behavior. That's just how behavior is developed. And so what you want to do is, as early from the moment of sign up, you want them to have the experience that works to build the behavior. So the way you do that is you look at people who are loyal, regular, good customers, and you work backwards and say, okay, if I took these 20 people who are my happiest and best customers, what do they all have in common? What were their first 30 days like? Well, one thing about them is that they came in and they had a big goal. They needed to lose 25 pounds for their wedding. So that was really important. Number 2, we set up a schedule right away. Number 3, the first time they missed their schedule, we called them. Number 4, after they went to their first, 2 or 3 meetings, we thanked them and we called them and we congratulated them. Number 5, we introduced them to other people that work out at the same time so they felt like they had friends in their class. All of those things, if you notice what are the traits that make somebody a really loyal member, and then you make sure they have those experiences in the first 30 days, it's going to dramatically increase retention and dramatically increase probably the ability to build super users. So they say, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to sign up. They might say I'm signing up for 30 days. They might say I'm signing up for a year. It doesn't matter. You want them to have an amazing experience. And there's 2 ways to do that. One of them I think of as being organic and one that's inorganic. So the organic one is you want to make sure that they get the results that they were hoping for, that they're losing weight, they're getting more fit, they're able to track their progress. That's one thing that takes a little time for those organic results to be visible. But the inorganic things, which are like giving them positive, hey, congratulations, you've tried 3 out of the 5 classes, you're a level B, you get a ribbon or you get a something, introducing them to people, those are all things that are motivating, and you want to just keep motivating them until they start getting that intrinsic benefit where they're like, I know people here, I feel comfortable, my body's getting stronger, I see how I look in the mirror, all those things that come with a consistent practice.
Okay, tribe, let's jump over to show 27. Christine Thalwitz from ACAC talking about how to go about planning a charity campaign.
There's actually many things I think an organization should consider before they embark on this. Mm-hmm. And first is, does this promotion, does this campaign, is it an alignment with your brand and your business? And I think it's really important to think, do you have the core values of your business already outlined? For us, we have 5 core values, and one of them is community. So it was a very obvious fit. This is something that we're engaged in and day out, trying to reach the community. So this was a very natural extension of our core values. And I think that's important for a business to really frankly consider and say, is this something that is in our repertoire? Is this a core value? And then also the cause that you select, does it resonate with your audience? You don't want to be mismatched, and it doesn't mean that you have to adopt necessarily a fitness related charity all the time, but just, is there some sort of organic tie-in? So, sometimes we've picked literacy organizations, but again, we target families. We have lots of kids in the facility. So it's not a stretch to imagine us partnering with this. If you were to partner to say with a fast food chain, that could set up some problems. So again, it's just thinking about who are you partnering with, and does it resonate with your audience? Does it make sense? Is it an alignment? And then, is the program meaningful? For us, again, it's creating that win-win. The charity wins, the person wins because they get to work out and feel good about donating. We win because we get to meet all these people and to also support a charity. Also, is this partnership or initiative really going to stand out in the marketplace? Are you going to cut through everything else, or are you just a cookie cutter of something else? You want to make sure that it's going to stand out to the consumer. And then also, have you scaled it properly to the expectations of the program? So those are the sort of the framework. And a lot of it relates back to one of my favorite authors is Denise Lee Yon, and she wrote What Great Brands Do. Mm-hmm. And she said, great brands execute their brands. So if this promotion is you executing your brand, it's going to be a win.
Next up, it's Casey Conrad from Show 31, talking about key focus areas for fitness business owners.
Number 1, numbers. Most health club operators got into the business because they're passionate about fitness and they have little or no business experience. And when I go into a club that's hired me to do some consulting and I start asking them about KPIs, what's your revenue per square foot? What's your closing percentage? What's this? What's that? They look at me like a deer in the headlight. Numbers don't lie. And you have to. And this is why when I became a member of a Rex Roundtable, it dramatically shifted my perspective. And remember, I'm an attorney. I went in and got trained in tax and business and all this other stuff. But numbers from a day-to-day operational standpoint of a business are so different than just standard accounting numbers. So just like there's KPIs for salespeople, there are certain KPIs for business owners, and they need to be watching those. They need to be measuring those. They need to know what the average lifetime value of a customer is. They need to know what the average number of months a customer stays with them. They need to know their customer acquisition costs, their lead acquisition costs. They need to know their dollars per square foot or square meter. There's so many, and these are not difficult to find. I'm sure if they get in touch with JT, and Rex Roundtables, they'll be able to get plugged into that and maybe even get on a roundtable. It's an investment, but it's well worth it. So they have to know the numbers, because until and unless you know your numbers, you are just making absolute guesses as to what to do. And you have no way of measuring, am I getting better or am I getting worse? So that would be number 1. Number 2, ancillary revenue streams. We witnessed this we've witnessed it in every single recession where there had to have been a shift in how we got money and raised money, way back in the late 80s when we had the first shakeout. It was going from lifetime memberships where you had a $49 annual renewal rate to memberships that you continued to pay annually, and then it went to EFT, and then and then it, so there's all these different things. But today, in today's hyper-competitive market space, if a club owner does not have multiple significant ancillary revenue streams, so not just PT, but okay, what do they have for potential beauty? What do they have for potential wellness? What do they have for, any number of things? And some people are very creative. They have absolutely got to get themselves spread across so that in the event that a low-cost competitor comes into the market space and they lose 20% of their members, they're not going to close their doors overnight. They've got at least enough ancillary revenue streams that they can get more dollars per member. And that, of course, is one of the KPIs. What am I getting? What is my average per member monthly spend? Not my average per monthly member dues. I want to know what my average per monthly member spend is. So that's just a key number. So that ancillary revenue stream, in my opinion, is big. And then the third thing, wellness. I am seeing huge shifts in this underground market where, with the boomer population, if you do not start to incorporate wellness into your offerings, not just fitness, there's a difference, then I think that you are going to ultimately find yourself in a place like people who didn't, believe it or not, people didn't embrace PT when it first came out in the 80s. They're like, oh, no, we're not. No, we offer 3, or 6 orientations. We're not going to charge our members for personal training. Well, now if a club doesn't offer personal training, you look at them and say, like, well, what planet are you living on, right? I believe, based on what I've seen and the kind of the dual world that I find myself in now, because I'm very engaged in the wellness space, I see that as a major shift. And I believe it was Paul Pilsner who spoke to URSA way back in the late 90s and authored the book, The Wellness Revolution. He was way ahead of his time, Chantal. He was way, way, way ahead of his time. And I believe with our aging population that you are going to have to start incorporating wellness elements right from extra things all the way to your fitness offerings.
It's interesting you say that, Casey, because one of the guests that we've had on the show during December was Molly Kemmer. And Molly works with Exos MediFit, and that's obviously an area that they specialize in. And she talked a lot about that wellness component. Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, excellent.
I am seeing it here, and I'm seeing the clubs that are doing it are seeing huge jumps in ancillary revenue with their existing members, and they're seeing customers that would have never walked through those doors come in. So it's interesting. It's very interesting. It's an interesting place. I cannot imagine not being in this space. I have been in it my entire adult life. I'm 51 now, and I'm as passionate about wellness and fitness and doing the right thing as a professional fitness salesperson and club owner today as I was back when I was a wet behind the ears sales rep. And I really feel blessed and grateful to have been able to contribute to this industry.
Here is the incredible Michelle Seeger on the meaning of exercise, understanding the wrong whys, plus her top tips for fitness business owners.
So the concept of meaning refers to an underlying symbolism that any behavior has. A really easy example is if you think about getting a shot well, boy, that has a meaning, and it's usually associated with pain, maybe sickness. So everything has a meaning, and we haven't been taught to think about exercise or physical activity as having this underlying meaning. But just like our past experiences with getting a shot create an underlying meaning, which is often emotional for getting a shot, the same thing happens with exercise. So a lot of children, play for physical activity. They run around and they play dodgeball and, they play different sports in different countries. But it's fun. It's about being social and having fun. And then once, let's say, a young woman gets into her 20s and maybe puts on some weight, all of a sudden an activity that used to mean time with friends and time to play for leisure became a regimen and a vehicle for body sculpting and weight loss. And so then that becomes information that informs the gestalt of the meaning of physical activity. And if being active doesn't feel good and is even hurts, well, classical conditioning and psychology would suggest, and the history and the population level physical activity that we've seen around the world would suggest that people do start. They start with high intensity exercise, but a lot of people, if not most, don't actually like high intensity exercise, and it creates a negative meaning, and then they don't want to keep up with it.
Now, one of the things that you talk about is you talk about choosing the wrong reasons for exercising. Do you want to explain that a little bit more?
Yes. So that's one of the most important parts of the whole book. And I call them the wrong whys. And the reason why some reasons are whys for exercise are right and some are wrong is because the wrong whys put people on a path of unstable, controlling motivation. When they initiate exercise with the wrong why, it leads people to feel like it's a should and a chore, and they do it and they start it, but again, they start and stop, but they don't sustain. Mm-hmm. And so the whys, the reasons for change, actually, in research across fields suggests that our reasons for initiating a behavior like exercise actually is the beginning and has tremendous domino effect on our motivation and our ultimate behavior. And so if we start exercising with the wrong whys, and I'm calling the wrong whys focusing on weight loss, abstract, avoiding some dreaded disease in 20 years, because for a couple of reasons. Because when people initiate exercise for losing weight, which is probably the most common reason for initiating, so this is very counterintuitive, people choose a physical activity or physical activities that are going to help them burn the most calories, because that's logical, right? You're trying to use exercise to lose weight. Well, I better do it in a way that's strategic, which is, burning calories. But again, research shows that in general, now this is clearly not true for everyone. In general, high intensity exercise leads to decreased pleasure and increased displeasure, okay? Mm-hmm. So if someone's exercising to lose weight and they choose high intensity exercise and they're one of the people of the big population who does not like high intensity exercise, then they won't stay motivated to do it. So the book is all about how to create stable and sustainable motivation so people stick with exercise once they initiate it.
In your opinion, and based on all the research that you've done, what would be your top tips for fitness business owners?
Well, I would rebrand exercise within the gym and in advertising outside of the gym in ways that make it a gift, that help people of all sizes and body types embrace physical activity. But, the most important tip gets back to partnering with people and how they can be successful outside of the gym too. Again, it's so counterintuitive, but this is really logical. If you can help your members identify a program both inside of the gym and out where they are successful, then they will keep coming. I've heard stats before from big gyms where on New Year's, the people who come 4 to 6 days a week because they're so motivated to do it right, those are the ones that drop off of membership. The people who start coming just a little bit at a time, those are the people who stick with it. So I think in your marketing, in your programming, I think you could use the protocol in No Sweat to create a new client intake sheet where you can take people through establishing personal whys that are meaningful, ways of exercising that feel good, hows of exercising that work both inside and outside of the gym, and the permission piece of also identifying whether guilt is getting in the way and how to overcome that, but then also helping clients learn how physical activity is truly fuel for the rest of their day and the things that they cherish most in their life, like being a parent, partner, and professional. So those are the 5 areas that I would work on.
The Fitness Business Podcast is very appreciative of our podcast partners. Here's a quick word from one of our partners.
The new Active Management membership is perfect to help reduce your stress of running a fitness business with shortcuts, tools, and education all at your fingertips. You will be strengthened as a leader and a business with the new Active Management membership. To find out more, go to activemgmt.com.au and click on the big blue button that says you can be a member now. There are 4 packages to suit every budget and need. We love hearing from our tribe, so it's my pleasure to recently chat to a local Sydney fitness business owner who is an avid podcast listener and a big fan of the show. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome to the show Sean Lestrange, the director from New Image Personal Conditioning. Welcome to the show, Sean.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Chantel.
Now, you are a regular listener of the Fitness Business Podcast, which is very, very exciting for us. And I wanted to get you along today to talk to you about, what you enjoy about the podcast. But before we do that, do you want to give everyone a bit of a rundown on New Image Personal Conditioning?
Yeah, great, sure. So New Image Personal Conditioning is a private studio located in Sydney's northwest. We have 7 employees, including myself, a combination of exercise physiologists and personal trainers. And we deliver both of those services, exercise physiology, where we work closely with allied health professionals such as GPs, physiotherapists, insurance companies. And we also have our personal training side of our business, which is the major part of our business, which our EPs also work within. And we also have Pilates classes. I'm a Pilates instructor myself. But as mentioned, personal training is the core component of our business.
Excellent. Now, I believe you're a bit of a fan of podcasts. What is it about podcasts that you enjoy the most?
Look, I love podcasts. As I said, our business is located in Sydney's northwest, but I live in the inner city, so I live in Redfern. So it takes me about 40 minutes to drive to and from work every day, and particularly the Fitness Business Podcast running for 30 minutes to 40 minutes each time is just perfect for that driving time. I also listen to other podcasts as well, but your one fits perfectly within my driving time to work.
I love that. It's a perfect time to listen to a podcast, actually. It kind of makes the time go that little bit faster as well, I think.
It does. And, by the time I get home at night, normally when I try and read a book in bed, by the time I get through 2 paragraphs, I'm asleep. So yeah, the podcasts are perfect.
That's good. So from the shows that you've listened to, can you tell us maybe a couple of ideas or insights that you've been able to take away so far from the podcasts?
Yeah, well, the first one is Profit First by Mike Thalwitz. Extremely important concept. And I've, with Justin's guidance, one of the privileges of being associated with the ILR or the round table is that Justin makes sure that you're accountable. And I mentioned Profit First, and he made sure that I took action on that straight away. So as of January 1, I've set up an extra account where I allocate a percentage of profit. So that's been a winner so far. Number 2 would be Michelle Segar, No Sweat. As mentioned at the start of this interview, we have a lot of patients come to us from doctors, and fitness is not necessarily their priority. So making sure we find out exactly why they're doing what they're doing, and making it an enjoyable journey for them from the start is really important for us. So what she said in No Sweat, I actually purchased that for one of my trainers for Christmas. Really resonates with us as a team here at New Image. And I guess the last one was from Tim Kitely. His recommendation by having a photo album at your front of house. We have newspapers and magazines and newsletters from dietitians there, but I think having a photo album, which is what I'm going to work on now, is really good because people can come in and actually see why we do what we do, and you're actually inviting them to the community straight away by reading that photo album. It's really important.
I thought that was a really cool idea of Tim's, actually, because I think one of the things I discussed with him during that particular show is that it feels like we're all trying to put everything online these days. You know, everything's digital. You have to go to an iPad and stuff like that. But really having something that's tangible, like a photo album, sitting somewhere as significant as front of house when people are walking in or walking out the door is actually a really nice connection tool to have with your members.
Most definitely. And a lot of the time, particularly with our exercise physiology patients, they'll come in, but they'll bring their spouse with them as well. So their spouse will be sitting in a sofa at the front of house, and it's really good for them to be able to tap into our community as well and know that their partner is in safe hands.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool idea. Look forward to hearing how you go with that. So I think all those shows you mentioned were great. I mean, just a reminder to everyone, Mike McCallowitz was in show 24 if everyone missed it and wants to go back and check that out. Michelle Segar, No Sweat, was in show 33. And then Tim Kitely, what was Tim in? I'm going to have to look that one up. Oh, here we go. Tim Kitely was in show 25. So definitely all really good shows to go and check out. So do you have any ideas of, anyone in particular that you'd like to see us interview in the future and any questions that you might ask them?
Yeah, I'd love you guys to interview Todd Durkin from Fitness Quest 10 in the United States. Todd, as you know, has got a very successful business over there in California, but at the same time as having that successful business, which a great bunch of trainers, he's also got a personal profile as well. And I guess what resonates with me is that I work in a boutique type of studio, I guess, no more than, say, 170 clients at one point. And I think it's really important to also have a personal profile as well as having the business profile. And I think Todd has really delivered on that, and he's able to talk throughout the world utilising his personal brand, but he's got that fantastic business back in California where people are really tapped into that business and that community.
Tribe, if you want to check out Todd Durkin, just head over to fitnessquest10.com. That's the number 10. Sean, I think that interviewing Todd is a really great idea, and it actually reminds me of the interview that we did with Amy Dixon last year. She spoke a lot about how to build your personal brand and also like the importance of social media. So if anyone wants to go and check that out now, if you missed it, it was on show 29. So definitely keen on Todd Durkin for a future guest. So let me see if we can reach out and get him on the show. Sean, thank you so much for being a guest on today's show. We will include the links to New Image Personal Conditioning and to Fitness Quest 10 in today's show notes. And before we go, now, you mentioned earlier the ILR. So, Tribe, as you know, Rex Roundtables is one of our amazing sponsors here on the show, and ILR is the Industry Leaders Roundtable. It's kind of the Aussie leg of Rex, and it's run by our regular guest, JT from Active Management.
Yeah, and speaking of ILR, meeting Justin Tamsett was one of the best things for me personally. It's made such a difference, not only to myself, but to our business as well. We have colleagues from the roundtable come in and check out our business and meet our trainers and our clientele. And the feedback they give you is just so realistic and actionable. It's really, really great. So I recommend to anybody out there listening to this podcast, if you're a studio owner or a gym owner, get involved with Justin and the ILR. It's fantastic.
Awesome. Nice plug. Did he pay you to say that?
Not at all. Just really like the man.
No, that's awesome, Sean. Hey, listen, thank you so much for coming onto the show and being part of the Fitness Business Podcast.
Chantel, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's time for the Fitness Business Podcast wrap.
For today's takeaways, I'm going to give you my favourite pieces of advice from each of today's guests. Back in show 21, Robbie Kilman-Baxter reminded us that from the moment of sign up, you want your customers to have the experience that you know works to build a certain behaviour. It is so important to have the right person introduce a new member, way more important than giving lots of people tours through your facility, because it is all about creating an experience. From show 27, Christine Thalwitz said that before embarking on a charity campaign, you have to ensure that the campaign forms part of your company's core values. Ask yourself, does it resonate with your audience? Is there an organic tie-in? Consider, is this partnership going to stand out in your marketplace? She said to make sure that you pick a great partner, a great charity, that you tell stories and that you get actively involved in the charity that you are supporting. From show 31, Casey Conrad said that if you can get your trainers to embrace the concept that selling is nothing more than education plus motivation, then you will have a much easier time of getting them to earn a customer's business. And in show 33, Michelle Seeger says that the wrong whys put people on a path of unstable, controlling motivation. It leads people to feel like exercise is a chore. Our job as fitness professionals is to figure out what hasn't worked and why, and to help people develop a solution tailored to who they are. Okay, tribe, what an awesome show. I'm so excited about today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It is now time to announce the 2 winners of our February prize giveaway, which was 2 Active Management Memberships 2.0, and the winners are Dawn Odell and Robert Dyer. Congratulations to Dawn and Robert. We will be in touch to organise activating your memberships. And I want to say a huge thank you to Active Management for supplying this month's prizes. Make sure you tune in next week, tribe, to hear all about our March giveaway. Now, also next week, we've had our very best of women in fitness, so it's time to hand it over to the boys because we have our Best of the Boys show. That's right, we couldn't let the girls have all the fun. So next week, you're going to be hearing from past guests, including Mike McAllowitz, Tim Keatley, Jim Worthington, and of course, JT from Active Management. I want to say thank you once again for joining me for another week of the Fitness Business Podcast. And remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Great show this week that you should be suffering DOMs, delayed onset mind soreness, as you are overloaded and that's when your mind is strengthened. You and your business have been strengthened thanks to the amazing support of our premier sponsor, Active Management. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au, only if you want to strengthen your business and your leadership. Don't forget all today's links and notes are found at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can also subscribe and never miss a show and maybe win a prize. Next week is another incredible guest with Chantal, so get ready for more Fit Bizpiration.